Welcome back to Arkansas Basketball Recap, that show that recaps every Arkansas Razorback basketball game after they happen. I'm Daniel Price. That's Jacob Price here to recap Arkansas's 82-57 victory over the Central Arkansas Bears. Razorbacks moved to 9-2 on the season. And hey, this is one of those games where you figured you're going to win going in. You did win. You won by a lot. It was never in doubt. And the never in doubt part is the good thing to talk about here, which is, we've had a couple of these games where we're playing lesser opponents and we let teams, hang around at an uncomfortable margin for too long. And that didn't really happen this game. Arkansas kind of jumped out on them. It was never that close. It was around 14 points for a while there, and then it got stretched out again, and it seemed like Arkansas didn't apply a ton of pressure. They weren't doing any of that stuff, and so they come away with an easy 25-point win. One stat that one of the announcers brought up that I guess I was unaware of, which I do like, is that Arkansas has outscored every one of its opponents without exception in the second half. They've won every second half of the season, but you're like, oh, like that you expect that against some of the teams that are not very good. But even in their losses, they have outscored their opponents, which I like that because that means that halftime adjustments are happening and that kind of stuff. So that's good.
Yeah, I mean, the negative way to look at that is it's frustrating that you can't. We've talked ad nauseum about the slow starts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you could you don't even have to outscore them in the first half. If you could just play not bad,
Yeah.
not as bad, like be down by two instead of 12. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like play for the first half, or better yet, play a little bit better, and then you have been playing better in the second half. But stop these slow starts, and you probably maybe have only one loss or maybe no losses.
Yeah.
You definitely, if you didn't start so bad against Illinois and Baylor, although the Baylor thing was a little bit different, that zone because it was so early, kind of was funky the whole game for us. But you definitely feel like, like I said, we outplayed Illinois in the second half. We just played so bad in that first half.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Another big difference, of course, and a good takeaway from this is Jonas Adu continues to look healthier and healthier. Uh, I don't in the post game press conference, someone said something about him being 100%. Cal said he's not 100%, but he's getting closer. And he goes 6 of 6 this game. I mean, he don't miss, right? He has 13 points, and just you could just tell like he's running the floor better. Like he's an imposing thing. I mean, I love the fact that you have someone you can get the ball to in the middle, dude, that just camped down there. Whether it's throwing him oops or him with his back to the basket and letting him get into like that sort of over the shoulder shot and that kind of stuff. SEC play comes to, we're going to need that. And you start, and I thought defensively he was just a problem. I mean, he was given Central Arkansas fits. I like how even on switches and stuff, you wouldn't think with a guy he doesn't strike you as a guy that's like the most agile or whatever, but he does a good job like staying like running out on shooters and not leaving his feet, staying down. He knows he's long, he just gets his hands up. Does a good job moving his feet when they switch on screens. And he does good. I mean, he just what it is, he's an all SEC defensive player. That's what it is. And he takes the right angles. He's in the right positions a lot more than the other big options. And I think that is going to be a huge deal come SEC play. We definitely need him. We are way better with him on the floor.
yeah, I mean, I guess if you were like I said, again being cynical, I mean, I think I probably looked at that game in the first half and was like, you could tell these guys couldn't stay in front of our guys at all. I mean, that one period where Boogie Flan just like wouldn't even let their point guard get the ball past half court,
Yeah.
just kept taking it away from him, was almost embarrassing. Like, I mean, you got to let him get past half court. I mean, not really, but like he took the ball away from 3 times in a row or whatever. And um, you almost feel like, well, probably ought to beat that team by 40 just based on like
I don't think Cal is going to beat Central Arkansas by 40. I don't think
it
he
did.
has this attitude, and you could hear when he talked about them afterwards how complimentary he was of them, their coach. You know, they've not been in Division One program that long. How they were going to be good in their conference, how they run good stuff, how it's great to have the whole state come together down in Little Rock to watch these two in-state. He wasn't going to embarrass them. I just I don't think he was going to do it.
Yeah, and honestly, even the way that they played, I mean, like he didn't overplay. Like, well, one, th you probably do win that game by 35 if just a couple of things change,
If Thero
even
plays.
despite whatever you know Cal is trying to do, which is if Thero plays and Big Z for the first time like actually brought his 3 point that game will bring his 3 point percentage down to a human level because I mean did he even make
He's hurt too. Like I mean he's like nursing that
he didn't make
ankle.
one, did he?
No, he's
I
0
think he
for
was like
3.
0 for 5, 0 for 3.
Over
Yeah.
3. Yeah.
And
He's probably at 50% now.
yeah. So if like two of those go down, and the other thing is Cal did put in, you know, our B team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he put in a 5'7" point guard for the last like 4 minutes or something like that, and they did bring that from like a 32 point. They
Yeah.
got the better side of that for a minute. So yeah, if like I said, a three or two goes down from Big Z, or if Thero is in there, he probably I mean what Thero would just it would have been like playing with children. You know what I mean? He's even the biggest mismatch. So yeah, and like you said, it didn't feel like Cal was putting pressure on to try to pad his overall numbers.
No, and
So
I think it had to do with the opponent. Like I just think he didn't, you know, they agreed to play this game. It was a game down in Little Rock, like I said. You have the whole state's there. I don't he wasn't gonna try to embarrass them. Like that wasn't it's the same thing that I mean we didn't have really have they gave us a much better fight, so the opportunity wasn't there. But I don't think he would, if he had the opportunity, embarrass Arkansas Little Rock and Darrell Walker either. I don't think Darrell Walker's an Arkansas legend. He wouldn't do that to him. So he's not gonna like press him the whole game and beat him by 40 kind of thing. Which by the way I respect. Like I think that's good. You know,
yeah, I wonder if it is just the in-state thing because we did. What was that team that the one team that came in
yeah,
that
yeah.
obviously just
East
looked like,
Shore.
yeah, I mean they
Yeah.
just couldn't do anything, and when we beat them by like 70 or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I know. I think it is. I think it's that he doesn't. That team's got Arkansas in their name too, and so he's not
mhm.
interested in doing that. Yeah. So I thought Jonas played good. I like the way that Jonell is starting to get more shots up. He hits three threes this game. He's hit three threes the last couple games, and that's what we need
That's what
him to
we need.
do. Um,
Hmm.
I'd like to see him put the ball on the floor a little bit more. I know he did a lot of that at FAU, but like, uh, yeah, it's good. Like do you feel good about him shooting the ball? That's for sure. Yeah, dude, and those three guards are a problem. I mean, you like that, and I like it. Boogie out there with Nelly and DJ, like that's what I mean, dude. By the way, DJ's been shooting the ball great. That's what I mean. DJ goes 3 of 4 from three, uh, and he's been shooting at I don't know what his percentage is now. I know it wasn't great at the beginning of the year, but he's got to have that thing up there, in the high 30s for sure at this point, right?
Yeah, he looks good. I do think with Nelly, because he was the ball dominant person on that team, for guys like that,
Just figuring it out.
well, and maybe you can't even figure it out like to a certain degree. I mean, if he can embrace the role of hitting threes, kick out threes a couple of times a game, but I suspect there'll be a game where Boogie Flan gets in early foul trouble, you know what I mean, picks up three in
Mhm.
the first half and then an early one in the beginning of the second half, and it has to sit for a large chunk of a game. I mean, maybe that won't happen, hopefully, but it probably will. And whatever circumstances happen that make it where Nelly has to assume a little bit more of playmaking role. I mean, obviously we have other guys too, but I think for certain guys, like you got to have the ball in your hand for a certain amount of minutes to wake your your crossover up and wake your shake and bake up to where you're putting your head down. And I predict that there will be a game where either he has to do that or they sense that he like maybe he makes a couple of threes and hits a jump shot and they sense that he is getting in the flow and they'll try to focus on giving him the ball. I think part of it is he just doesn't have the ball in his hands. Like he is basically
He's not played with this level of talent either. Like he's just had like it's just a different thing, man. Like if you're like that dude, over at Florida Atlantic, um, you just got so many more options. I think, and he doesn't look down about it or anything either. Like he does lead the huddle a lot, like which I like. He's the oldest dude on the team. And maybe he just knows that, like, hey, I got two other guys here that can get to the rim just fine. But like one of the issues of this team coming in with people have questions about is could we shoot? And like I need to be that. I need to make sure that I can solve that problem. And if he just wants to win, then that role, I mean, of course, that his role is going to change, like than what he had over there. And I'm fine with him being the guy. I don't need we don't need Nelly to average 18 points a game. Like we don't need that to happen. And he's not going to like it. But if he can average 11, and hit not and knock down three threes a game, that's all you need from him. Like and by the way, he's a great rebounding guard and he plays good defense. And you're like, that's great, man. Like out there the wing, totally fine with that. It makes hustle plays, winning plays. I mean, the end of that Michigan game, like just doing smart stuff, being an older guy. I think it's right. By the way, I just looked it up. DJ is shooting 41% from the 3-point line so far this season. I mean, give it to me. And
mm,
Nelly is up too, and he didn't shoot the ball well at first either, and he's up to 39%. So we can shoot the ball, is what I'm saying.
hopefully we can keep that going. I mean, it's almost now that your team has kind of started to round out and get better I mean I'm glad we have a couple of more tune-up games, but I am starting to get juiced for the conference. I mean, I'm both excited and nervous for this SEC.
By the way, Boogie's shooting at 39% from three as well. So you got multiple guys at 40 or right at 40. Um, not to mention Big Z, who I'll tell you, I'll do that too.
Is
Let's
he
look
under
at
50 now?
Big Z, 51%.
Mm.
So
Yeah, he better make some next game or he's going to drop below
still
50.
not. The other thing is, I really liked the way that Trevor Brazil's looked. He gets 11.7 rebounds in this game, but I like the way he's playing. He's playing so much better, in my opinion, than he has ever in an Arkansas Razorback uniform. And I know that before he tore that, he was getting all those dunks and shooting threes and stuff like that. But he's playing with a different he's playing smarter. He's doing like little stuff that he didn't used to do. He's rebounding harder. I mean, I don't know if Trevor Brazil had a 7 rebound game his whole first year. Like that dude was like a terrible rebounder for someone his size, unless it was like a rebound dunk. Um, I think he's playing better defense. He's playing more. I mean, he's never going to be like a huge physical guy, but he's playing more physical. Like I just like the way he looked. Like his intensity seems good, and I think he's going to be really important.
No, for sure. I mean, I still think even with the, Adu getting better and stuff, I still think that um, one of our vulnerabilities is still going to be our depth at the post position, mostly just because they are all different, which can be good,
Mhm.
but you're fine when you have the three of those guys and you can kind of rotate them in and out. And you have slightly different dynamics when one of them is in versus the other, and you can play two of them at the same time, and those dynamics change versus if you're playing a do in Brazil or a do in Big Z at the same time. I mean, because of Big Z's ability to stretch the floor, and really, I mean, honestly, Brazil can too. But they all play a little bit different. But where you get in trouble is if one of those guys gets injured or is in foul trouble, and you have to more anchor and lean on those other guys to just be more prototypical and try not to foul. Those situations I'm a little bit worried about. because I
Mm,
think when you start getting in the SEC, you could see a lot of games
yeah,
where those guys do struggle to not get in
yeah,
foul trouble,
yeah, and
but
I think that's why Brazil looking like he's more comfortable being physical and that kind of stuff is a good thing because he,
because
I
it's
feel,
very not just you know possible. It's likely there'll be multiple games where a do is going to pick up two fouls in the first half,
oh
and you're
sure,
going to
yeah.
have those other guys pick up the slack for 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I just, as good of a rim protector, and I know he was still banged up and he wasn't moving 100% or anywhere close to it with Big Z. And it's good, and he's a great rim protector. He's a great shot blocker, of course, but um, he's not. I don't expect him to become like a real physical post defender this season. Maybe he does get more physical as the year goes on, and maybe he can develop into a better version of that in the coming seasons. But uh, I do think that Brazil looking more that part. And again, he's not built for it, but like just the intensity is there. I see him pushing, I see him getting physical, fighting for a position and that kind of stuff. I just didn't see that, I don't feel like in years past. Like just like the freaking, arm swimming with other guys and like and that kind of
Mm.
and I like that.
Yeah, I mean he's always played like he's always ran the floor well,
Yeah.
and,
Hmm.
and honestly, it does feel a little bit like he's just a little bit lagging behind. I mean, not maybe not lagging behind, but just a young guy that's just learning how to where you need to play physical to take advantage of things because running the floor is the most obvious thing, but not everybody does it. And it's
Yeah.
like if you show him this is what this is how you can play energetic and smart. This is where you need to, you know, forearm someone in the back and in a legal way. But I'm saying this is where you need a hand fight with somebody. Uh, he's capable. I mean, he's not lacking in the effort. It's
Hmm.
just he needs to learn a little bit how to when to tighten up and
Yeah.
when to run the floor. So yeah,
Yeah.
no, I do feel like he's playing a lot smarter. I mean, he's even turned down several opportunities where he could have easily ganked a three just because
Hmm.
it was early and it felt like the wrong time. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Someone
Yep.
can get a better shot.
Yeah, yeah, he's not just he seemed like he was just in love with three last year. That's just all he wanted to do. And I mean, how many he has not shot that many. By
Mm-mm.
the way, what he did hit an enormous one in the Michigan game. Like I don't mind him shooting threes. I know he can make them. But I do like that he's not like I want nine threes a game. That's why I want to be. You're like, dude, you're just too athletic and you won too much of the physical lottery to be reduced to a guy that sits out on the wing. Like
Well, and
you can be so much more, and I think he is being that. It's actually Cal said that in the press conference. He's like, there's more there that we haven't even seen yet. He's like, he's got stuff that this is like he said he was talking about how well he thought he was playing lately, rebounding, blocking shots, being physical. But he said that and I agree with Cal on this. He's like, there's more. Like he's not like reached his ceiling.
yeah, well, and it is partially. I mean, it's hard to exactly nail down. I mean, it's a little bit like that. You know it when you see it thing because there are dynamics that are unfolding in a game where it's not a bad idea for you to take an open three early in the shot clock. And, I'm thinking of a game where you're really, really struggling to get good looks. Like some
Yeah.
team is playing hard defense. You are turning the ball over. You aren't getting good looks. It's then if they have a breakdown in defense and you're a decent 3-point shooter like Brazil and you catch the ball and it's still 25 seconds on the clock, but you're like they had a breakdown in defense. That's one of those ones where you like feel like you take that because if you give it up, you may not get another good. That might be the best look you get. Whereas there's other teams where it's like, and it doesn't even matter. I mean, the fact that it's a big man does make it even or changes the calculation a little bit because if you're shooting three, then you need to be down rebounding when the guards are shooting three. So you even need to make sure that's even a better shot because you're now outside. This is the big Z, Brazil dynamic. You need even more of a license to shoot a three because you're supposed to be the guy rebounding,
Yeah.
but yeah, he's not doing that where it's just like, oh, I've got to look, I'm going to take it. And you can kind of sense when those are. I mean, players like if you watch, I mean, really, I mean, maybe the best big man that we've ever seen now. I mean, arguably, we'll see how it works out, but in the NBA, Djokovic, one of the things that makes him so good is he almost never ever does the wrong thing. When
Yeah,
his team is struggling, he'll walk into a freaking deep two or deep three and knock it down, and it's like it was the right moment. They needed something. You know what I mean? It gave his boys a boost of energy. There's other times where he gets looks and it's early in struggle. He turns them down. He's like, no, I'm going to get my teammates involved. I'm not just going to chuck this up because I could over this smaller defender. You know what I mean? And I mean, that I think I've always said, I mean, we're off on a little tangent here, but I've always said, like, I think that's why there's the difference between guys that can't seem to ever get players to play hard with them. And it's because they don't have that sense of when to shoot and when not to shoot, when they need to defer to their teammates, when they need to actually actively try to get their teammates touches because everybody deserves to put up some shots. And like, if you want your guys to play hard for you on defense, you have to have them involved. Whereas if it's just spread the floor and watch me go,
yeah,
it's even if they're not selfish players and they're not bitter about it, they just don't. People do not play the same when it's not a team game. Like it's not the Allen Iverson is to me the classic example, and maybe Carmelo Anthony, but these guys that are amazing players, but for some reason, no matter how many points they put up, 50, 45 every night, like it seems like they lose by 5 points every game. It's like they can't get stops, and it's because their teammates are watching them play on offense and then being demanded that they play hard, connected, fluid defense on the other end. It's like it just doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? Like you
yeah,
have to have
yeah.
that feel for when it's the right time to take the shot and
But
when
well,
it's the
and
right time.
I tell you what, one of the things that I like about this team, with as much talent as there is on this team, and a bunch of as many guys that are used to being the guy, I actually don't feel like there's any of that. Like there is zero unwillingness to share the ball on this team. Um, I don't. There's, I mean, you could probably count the number of like quote selfish plays like on one hand so far this season, which is really good. Like you don't have Boogie's not like that, DJ's not like that, Janelle, who's been that guy for a long time, he ain't like that. It's really good. Dude,
I
let's talk
agree.
about
I
that.
don't see.
Well,
I was gonna say I
also,
don't see any their body language and stuff. None of the stuff that we were concerned about the Must team last year, where it was like, man, we got some good players, but man, this body language looks funky when they call a timeout.
mhm,
They do not look happy with one another as they're going to the bench. You know what I
mhm.
mean?
No, I see a lot of when guys do, turn the ball over or miss something. I see a lot of like other guys making sure they get their head up, that kind of stuff,
Mm-mm.
like that's good. Um, I see, what I see a lot of, this happened actually at, I've, I see a lot of like my bads, a lot of ownership, which I think is always a good sign. I was at a basketball game on Friday night, for my daughter, and she threw a pass to someone who was wide open, but just kind of just a little off target, and they had to kind of reach for it, and they had to fumble it, and they just kind of had to throw it and save it in bounds. They ended up throwing it in bounds, and she immediately was like she's like my bad, like was, and I was like, hey, and I told her I was like, hey, I like that kind of stuff. When uh that's good. Yeah, that's good stuff to do in a game. And then when in college basketball teams, the good teams do that, man. Like they guys acknowledge when they mess up. I see a lot of pointing to guys who made the pass for the dunk. Like a lot of that stuff. I see a lot of yelling for the guy who gets the dunk when all you did was set the screen that he rolled around, and then when he gets the dunk, like and then that guy pointing at you, like acknowledging like how all this stuff comes together. So
Oh, dude,
acknowledge that's what it's
I've
all
seen
about.
nothing. When a guy like yells like as he's going back down the court after a hard dunk or a shot, it bothers me and says something about the person's character to me when 90% of the effort was done by somebody else, whether it be like the point guard breaking down the defense and then like falling out of bounds and dumping it in just to the wide open big guy who is in the right spot
Yeah.
and fought for that position and then dunks it. And it's like, or even worse, I saw one last night where like it might have been in that Gonzaga game, but like somebody went in and was like, it was a struggle for the rebound. Dude came in and just like got his hand on it. I mean, it was one of those ones where the other guy was about to pull down the rebound and he smacked it against the backboard out of his hands, went back to the other big guy who was there to grab it and put it in for the dunk. But like most of that play was on the effort of like that ball was going to be rebounded by the other defender and that guy dunks it and then just screaming down, dude, I would have been slapping that guy that tapped that rebound on the ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he's the one that got you that play. And yeah, I definitely like when
Hey,
guys.
like I don't mind it if you come down and you do a breakaway dunk and you slam it and you scream. What I don't mind if you do that as long as you point to the guy that threw that pass. But I love it when I see a guy, set the screen or or get the rebound and then dish it, and then like as the other guy's dunking it, the guy that did all that work and he's yelling. Like I like that, you know. And I see a lot of that with this team. Like there's a lot of yelling after dunks and stuff, but there's also a lot of pointing out to other people, you know. And
Also,
that's
we people have got to stop pounding their chest when they make like a jump shot in the first quarter or in the first half. You know what I'm talking
yeah,
about?
yeah.
I've seen guys like dribble up and like and hit a nice crossover step back jump shot, but then when they like turn to the crowd and they're like yelling, I mean, I guess they're trying to pump them up, but I'm like, you're up by two, and there's a
Yeah.
whole nother half. There's still 10 minutes to go in the first half. It's like when the linebacker gets a sack and it's like, but
I'm gonna
it's
start.
still
I'm gonna
it's
start
still
yelling.
second. It's 2nd and 8. This you didn't even stop them this time yet.
Dude, I'm gonna start yelling at the free throw line. Like every time I make one, I'm gonna like do too small and everything. Like just at the
The
free
too
throw.
small is out of control too. It's like every time anyone scores any bucket in the paint where they back someone down, they're too small, even if they're exactly the same size or bigger than you.
I
Yeah.
think that I think the
It's
too
like
small
sometimes
is
guys do score in the paint. Like that does
well,
happen.
I think the too small is appropriate when you score on someone that's way bigger than you. Then I think it's funny. Like so if you're 6'6" and you get the ball in the post and do some sick footwork and then score over some 6'11" guy, go yeah, sure, go ahead. Go ahead and say, yeah, he's too small, which is funny because he's like way bigger than you. Then it's funny. But I think it was in the what game was I watching? Uh I think it was in the Clemson Memphis game, and a guy from Memphis had like a 6'5" guy on him, and he's like he's like 6'10" and huge, and backs him down, and this guy's just fighting and fighting and fighting as hard as he can, and then eventually he just goes over his shoulder and lays it in, and he goes running down too small, and which is correct. Like if they, it was like all like they got caught in switches, and like this matchup was never supposed to happen, but it was one of those things where you're like. Yeah, dude. Everyone knows that like that. Yeah, for sure. It was too slow. And also, like if you miss that, then I don't know, making the defender run down the court and just say he's too small. He's too small
Yeah.
to score up. Uh,
Personally, I don't think I like the too small thing because I'm trying to think if there's another one of all the classic, go down the court and gestures, the ice in the veins, the just obviously the different versions of three, the James Harden cooking if you hit a couple in
yeah,
a row, if you hit the eyeglasses,
you
if
do
you're
this.
the binoculars, if
You can
you're if
eat.
you're
You can eat.
hitting if you're yeah hitting assist, you get to give them the binoculars. They're all pointed at yourself. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Or if you make the thing down low and you give the bicep and slap the bicep or whatever. But the too small is the only one that is directed at the other player that I can think of. I'm sure there's another one, some other one, but I just personally don't like it. One, I don't like it because it's a little bit of bad sportsmanship. I mean, I'm old school, I guess, but and two, I don't want to give the other guy any more. I don't want to
Yeah.
give them incentive.
Hey,
You know
I'm
what I
just
mean?
I'm just one of those old school like biblical guys, like where I think this is just fundamentally true. Uh where because it's better when it happens anyway. And so if you go get like an and one and you just go through all kinds of contact and then you end up on the floor and your teammate runs over to you and he flexes on you, or he does this to you, like it's so much better than if you do it. And this goes to like the wildly biblical principle of like it's better to let another's lips praise you. And it just is. Like so yeah, man. Like if even if you're gonna do the too small, like if your teammate does the too small on your behalf, I like it better, right? Like it's a better thing.
Well,
Um,
and it is sometimes, like I said, a lot of times it is done when it's just like, yeah, dude, you're in the post. Like you backed someone down and you made like a over the shoulder kind of baby hook.
yeah,
That's that's not that big a deal. Like, I mean, I don't know if he's too small. Like you made a good play. He made, well, I guess it bothers me when the other guy like played really good defense, but I
yeah,
mean, I don't care how good a defense you play. If a guy's gonna make, if a 7 foot or 6'10" guy is gonna make a baby hook, there's you almost can't even defend a baby hook without goaltending, because
yeah,
by the time it gets to your side where you can even reach it, it's already coming down. I mean, it's like one of those ones like, well, you could play amazing defense and a guy could still make that on you.
yeah.
And there are times where like if someone has done that to me, where I mean not very often when what we play, but it's I'm like it is verging on one of those things, kind of like when somebody calls, when I play straight up defense and someone calls a foul when they jump and I'm straight up and it's like pickup ball and they just think because there's contact they get to call a foul even though I'm playing, I'm not going to call a charge, but I'm like in position. I'm like, then I'm like, all right, if you're going to call a foul anyway, I'm going to get my money's worth next time. So I mean, you're going to be on the floor next time, because if you don't like when I play straight up and you're going to call the foul anyway, then I might as well just, and it's like if you're going to too small when I play good defense, next time, I guess I'll just play better. I'll just make sure you can't do that. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to
Because
say I'm not going to be dirty, but I'm going to be going through the arms.
well, that's also because you can't foul out. Uh,
That's true.
well, last thing, that we'll leave here. Can we talk about the 11 passes in 5 seconds for the dunk? Where like for a second there, you were like, "That's how it's done, guys." You know what I'm talking about? Like where that
Hmm.
that play where it was just like that ball was like pinball, and
Ended up
that's
in the like the little throw up, tiny little oop
yeah.
to.
DJ just ends up being like, "Here you
Yeah.
go." Like, and by the way, what was great about that play is everyone on the court touched the ball at least once, a couple guys twice. And Adu, who ends up with the dunk, was one of the, like it sort of went into him and he kicked it out and initially and it comes, dude, just comes all the way back around. It was like he could have made some move with the ball there when he got it in the post, didn't, chose to swing it. And who ends up with the oop is the guy that like it sort of initiated this, which you love it, dude. Like
And that
that's
one's an example of, I mean, I actually kind of felt bad for them on that, because actually, I mean, they were chasing from that first, down in the post and back out, and made it where, they sucked in, and then everybody was chasing on all those. And there was two or three of those shots that those guys could have pulled, but they, to Central Arkansas's credit, like they were actually running out. They played really good defense on all of those. They ran out on them and they could have gotten them off, but they would have been contested. And that's one of those ones where it goes to show you, if you play perfect offense, the defense is at a disadvantage. Like they can't, like if you swing the ball exactly, do the right thing every time, and which is impossible, obviously, but there's just nothing the defense can do. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like you the ball swings faster than the bodies can move, and that was one where I was kept on going, man, we are moving the ball, but we're not getting wide open. Like they're actually really moving well on defense. And then that very last one was the exact right, because even when DJ went in there, they he would have had to make, like they contested it. He was going to have to take a very tough weird layup, and then instead it's just like that guy that came over. The very last pass was the one where it's like nothing you can do about that. Like you
yeah,
contested every single one of those great, but they
yeah,
made the exact right pass, and now it's dunk time. So
yep, yep. Yeah, it was good. Also, kind of cool to see Lane Taylor of Farmington fame. It was kind of interesting because I saw him play a couple times last year. You saw him play last year. He played high school basketball against. He was in our conference last year, tearing people up. And hey, he looks like he could play Division I basketball. I thought he played pretty well. So good for him.
well, yeah, I mean, what he for a freshman, he still had his average, right?
I think he's
I
averaging
mean,
17. He ended up with 13, but um, I mean, he's a 5'11 freshman. I mean, like so
the one choice
good
he
for
made
him.
that was bad was he. I mean, we watched him, and he's got that really quick release step back three. and he can shoot it deep. It's like the Steph Curry flip of the wrist, step back. By the time, I mean, not stepping back because you were over the 3 point line.
Yeah.
You're 2 feet in front of the 3 point line. You're stepping back to 5 feet behind the 3 point line. But they got a switch on a screen, and he went to do that. And it's like, dude, you got to do that before the switch because if once Brazil's on you, now it's attack time. And I know you don't want to attack because, there's somebody else waiting for you down low, but you can't do that step back three on Brazil. You can do that on Boogie. Like
Yeah.
you need to turn down the screen if Boogie's on you if you're going to try to do a jab step back three because you could probably get that off over Boogie. Maybe Boogie's pretty quick, but Brazil, well, that one wasn't even close. He tried to do that one time, and Brazil was just like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, dude. But no, like he's having a good freshman season at UCA. And I didn't know, I guess he turned down some late scholarship offers from, did they say from Oklahoma State and stuff? Some he had some other offers rolled in and decided to stay there with his commitment at UCA. Now, I mean, if he keeps playing the way he's playing, I wouldn't expect him to be there long. He's probably going to try to leverage that into something else. But just cool to see a dude that's undersized, obviously. But
Which
like,
is really his only reason. I mean, he'd probably be playing for the Hogs if he was 6'4", he'd be
yeah,
playing for the Hogs probably.
yeah. But coach's kid got it. Obviously, like worked super super hard, and yeah, as a freshman is showing you that like, hey, maybe I was a little under recruited. Like I can play somewhere, and
Hmm.
so good for him. All right, man. We'll leave it there. We got a couple more games. Tell you what, that first SEC game is turning is shaping up to be something crazy, dude. On the road at Tennessee. By the way, the SEC just continues its just sheer dominance. I mean, I don't know. I've been watching college basketball a long time, and I guess, and when I just want you to know that if you hear announcers say that the SEC's dominance in the preseason against all other conferences is unprecedented, they're not just like trying to make something out of nothing. Like I don't know that I've ever seen a conference, like an entire conference, just dominate everybody else the way the SEC has done this preseason. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, the only two like kind of teams that have lost to other major is Kentucky against Clemson. I mean, obviously us against Baylor and Illinois, and then Auburn against Duke. Those are like the sort of like weak spots, but I mean, if you average it out, it's
The overall record is absurd, and the
mhm,
way that some of these teams are winning too. I mean, I don't know if you watched what Auburn did to Ohio State, but
I did see that. I mean, I don't know how good Ohio State is this year, but I mean, they beat them like worse than we beat Central Arkansas.
well, they just looked like uh, Auburn makes it look like, hey, basketball looks easy. I guess basketball is really easy then to play because it looks really easy. Look at how easy it is for these guys.
It looks
That
hard to
team,
coach when you watch Auburn, though. It looks easy to play and hard to coach
yeah,
because he
yeah.
looks. I don't know how these coaches. Honestly, I can't. I don't understand how any of these guys aren't like stroked out at 58 because the amount of stress that I feel as a fan, and I cannot imagine if these were the guys that I recruited, that I loved, and that their success not only did it like break, like, I'm emotionally attached to it because I know them individually and because of that their fate is tied to my own, but it's my family, it's my income, it's this corporation that I'm running called, whatever team it is. It's these coaches around me's livelihood, their families, like they've moved here, their kids are in school here. Like there is so much stress involved in that. And like I said, and then they have to coach, run, like I said, hire and fire. You know that there's, I mean, with any corporation or anything with when you've got 30 different people, like assistant coaches and stuff, there's going to be some egos and some little nitpicking and some internal fighting. And how are these? It looks like the worst and best job ever. Like, and then you see Bruce Pearl out there, and he's just pouring sweat, like he's in a sauna.
In a game he's winning by 40.
Yeah, and he's screaming and he's overweight, and you know his diet can't be good because he's probably never anywhere other than someone dropping him off a brown bag of fast food because he's constantly working. I mean, yeah, it doesn't look like a healthy lifestyle.
No. All
Cal
right, man.
actually does look like he's like maybe
He looks pretty good for 65.
but he also does. I mean, he yells a lot and stuff, but it's just different than like he does look like he's a little bit more chill.
He doesn't look like he's about to have an aneurysm like all the time.
No, I did see him. I want to see some of this dynamic between him and Boogie, but I did see briefly. It was just like as they panned one of the huddles, and like I said, we were winning by 20 or whatever, and he was talking to the guys, and Boogie was over to his left or to his right, and he turned to him, and there was a guy in front of him, so I couldn't see exactly what he was doing, but he was like obviously his head started to bob and stuff, and then as he turned this way, I saw him go that bullshit, and like he was definitely criticizing something. He's like that bullshit, and then he started doing some weird gesture, like he's like I don't know what he was talking about, but it definitely looked like he was going, we're not doing that bullshit, like, stupid. And I don't know. I mean, like I said, Boogie wasn't playing that or anything, but and Boogie was kind of almost had like a little bit of a smirk on his face, like
Yeah.
in like a it was a they seem like they have a funny
Yeah.
uh relationship with like ability to criticize and sort of mouth back in a
Yeah.
way that is fun. But
That's funny. All right, man. Well, hey, they got some time off. We don't play again until Saturday. So, that which is good. Big Z, get that ankle all healed up. Thero, get some Gatorade and whatever you need
mm,
to do, man. Get that flu under control. And you should be, I mean, assuming you're on the mend. So it's a good time to have everyone get healthy. And Jonas, go get an ice bath, whatever you got to do, and we'll come back to it, man.
all right,
All right.
everybody, get those Christmas presents ordered. It's almost time.
Snuck up on us, dude. I was saying that just the other day. I was like, what in the world? Like that, I feel like
That
Thanksgiving
late
to
Thanksgiving,
Christmas got quick, right?
that late Thanksgiving was sneaky. I
Yeah.
mean, it was over, and I'm like, oh man, I should have everything ordered already.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. All right, bro. Well, we'll see you
all right,
later. Bye.
see you, dude.